Hi, my name is Kathleen Kelm. I'm an instructor in the computing program. I'm also a doctoral tutor in the EDD program. I'm a faculty manager and I work as a dissertation advisor. I've been asked today to talk to you a little bit about how to use Turnitin and why we as faculty use Turnitin. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about what Turnitin is. It's a software program. It's a software program that's tied to a database. And so when you submit your assignment or your discussion question, you submit it into a database. Now that database includes submissions not just by you and your classmates, but by other students from around the world. And then one of the things it does is it looks at your submission and compares it to all the other submissions in the database. Now that originality report shows all of the matching, and the reason why we use Turnitin is we use it to help us understand how well you are using the theory and writing your answers reflecting the theory. In other words, what are you doing in terms of originality? Are you explaining the theory very well? Are you using your references very well? And so that's why we use Turnitin, is to help us understand how well you're taking the theory and using it in your everyday work. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what happens with Turnitin. It creates something called an originality score and an originality report. Some of you may have seen the report and some have just seen the score. Let me tell you a little bit about what shows up on the report. First of all, the report shows, first what you have is whether or not you have copied the questions. Please don't include the question because of course it's going to match to everything else, including other students. So we want you to not include the question. That's the first thing. The second thing it matches to is it matches to your references. Now you know that we want you to use references and they'll show up at the end of the submission, and of course it's going to match. So when we look at the report, we see that right away. The next thing we look for is we look for whether or not you have quoted material from sources. And it will tell us whether or not you've put quotation marks around it. It'll recognize it as quoted material. It'll also tell us how much quoted material is actually in your submission. Because one of the things we want you to do is actually write in your own words, not just copy and paste quotations. Even if they're done correctly, we want to see how well you understand the material. The next thing we look for is we look for whether or not you have referenced other people's ideas. How well have you paraphrased things? Have you used discipline-specific language? So for example, in the computing area, it would be pretty common to see the word network show up. Of course, it's going to match. When we know that, that's what we call discipline-specific language. But what if you've used other people's ideas? Have you cited them? So for example, let's say you were going to cite me in this video. You would use some comments or ideas that I'm presenting to you, and then in parentheses you put Kelm, comma, 2012, which of course is the date that we did this video. It's important to make sure that you do in-text citations, so we look at that. And then we look at whatever else is left as matching material. Because remember, the reason why we use Turnitin is to see, have you explained the ideas in your own words? So the Turnitin report is really telling us a lot about your original ideas. And if we have concerns or questions about that, we'll certainly get a hold of you and ask you in your writing, for example, how well have you explained the idea? And that leads me to my very last point, which is if you have questions about either the percentage you see or the report itself, please don't hesitate. Please contact us. We welcome your questions at any time. And finally, good luck with your studies.